Hi everyone, back with another chess video. Today we are going to be doing another 10-minute game and review. So this is going to be a little bit different. I'm playing a subreddit, a redditor from r/chess who is a little bit lower rated than me, but really not too much. Going to be playing a 10-minute game to kind of see the differences of how I play versus how a 1400 plays. I'm going to try to explain my thoughts, my thinking, my plans, and we're going to have a good game of chess. This person is definitely not a beginner. They're kind of more intermediate. So I could always lose this game, but no matter what, we're going to analyze it and see what happens. So this person is playing the Caro-Kann Panov attack. Caro-Kann, and I like to play into the Panov attack variation. So this is all kind of standard opening for this, standard moves for this opening. He's looking to fianchetto his bishop. He might be looking to push e4 or e5 at some point in the future to disrupt the center. For right now, my goal is to develop this knight, develop this pawn attacking here, just putting a little bit of pressure on the d5 pawn, looking to quickly develop my bishop and knight on my king side and get castled, just trying to play kind of safe, simple chess. So he goes knight f6, perfectly normal developing move. Always got to keep an eye out for this bishop. Yep, that can always come out to pin that knight. Now, in the Panov attack of the Caro-Kann, when this knight develops here, when this knight develops f6, this pawn can take, and then the queen and knight are staring at this pawn. And if the bishop is pinning the f6 knight, you can quickly lose this pawn if they exchange and you don't have it protected by the bishop. So he supports the pawn in the center, perfectly reasonable move. I might look to pin that knight in the future, but for right now, I think I'm just going to get castled. So I completed most of my development. I may look to push this pawn and then support it and kind of do a pawn push on the queen side, but what's preventing me from kind of doing that right now is this bishop would kind of a pretty juicy diagonal, and I would be weakening this side. So right now, I think I'm going to pin this knight and just kind of try to complete my development. I think I will close up. I don't know if I'm going to close up. I might try to open up the center because right now I have 1, 2, 3 attackers on this pawn. The only defender is 1, 2, and 3, but this knight really can't go anywhere. So if I take, pop my knight in there, maybe he pushes there, maybe he just skirts his queen out of the way. Let's try to think this one through. So takes, and I could exchange there, bishop, queen, and then maybe try pushing that pawn. I think in that scenario, I might have miscalculated, I might lose that pawn, but I like my pieces where they are. I'm a little bit more developed than he is because this knight is still on its home square. So I think I'm going to look to open up the center and see what kind of tactics and exchanges we can get. See if we can maybe be up a pawn. So that's kind of my thinking. Develop early, get pieces on safe squares, and set myself up for opening the center, set myself up for getting plans with attacking on king or queen side, wherever the kind of opening develops to is what I was thinking. So he's got to take back with the pawn, take back with the knight. He can't take because it's pinned. So maybe pawn takes, knight takes. Maybe I take there, exchange, and then if I push this pawn, queen can attack b2. I could throw my rook there, takes there. I could take there, and this rook is going to have a hard time. Getting out because if this knight develops, I have a little bit of a kind of intermediate move that my bishop would be staring at this rook. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now, is just when the center opens up, where the piece is going to fall. I'm expecting just a simple pawn takes, but he might look to maybe just kind of skirt his queen out of the way and be fine with me losing a couple pawns. Okay, so didn't think of this one. So pushes h6, perfectly good move. Let's think. If I take. If I take, then this pawn is loose. I can't take another pawn with check. Let's think. Take. I'd be up 2 pawns if I take there. We exchange in the center. I can be up another pawn, and then I can take there. So I think I'm going to exchange these minor pieces, and when I take here, this bishop is still staring at that square, and I could come away with a up an exchange, because this bishop is on a much more is well developed. It's looking at a good diagonal, and this knight being underdeveloped puts a hindrance to this rook. So that's kind of the risk that you run into when you are a little bit less developed than your opponent, is that when things start opening up and pieces start getting exchanged, you just don't have as much flexibility to play as defensively, because your pieces are not in as advantageous of squares. So that's kind of the downside, is things open up. Okay, so here I'm gonna lose this pawn. This really I'm kind of already accepted that I'm gonna lose this. I'm not gonna be able to defend it. So what I'm thinking is, this pawn, I can't push it because it just gets taken a million times. I can take here with check, but then I wouldn't be able to take there. If I take here, he's not going to take with the king. So maybe takes. I would have this pin, hitting the rook to the king. So I would still be able to get the exchange of the bishop for a rook. But let me just think. If I take here, you can go there. I can take. Okay. Here. And let me think. This is going to be something I have to look at after, because I'm debating either taking this pawn or taking this pawn. I'm thinking this pawn is going to be better, because the bishop will attack the rook and the knight. And can he defend both? He can go queen there, but then I just win the exchange. He takes, I take, or I take there. I think this bishop, taking there is going to be the better move. That's what I think, instead of pawn takes with check, because it takes with the rook, and then rook defends that pawn, and that isn't an option. I do have this pin that I would win that exchange, but I think this might do me some good. Okay, so he does do the queen b6 move. It's a perfectly good move. So I have this. I'm going to win this rook because I have the tempo, but I can gain a little bit of a tempo by just doing this little intermezzo pawn takes, and it's with check, so that's a forcing move, and then do the exchange. So I can take here with check. This rook is not going anywhere, so I'll be up a couple pawns, and then I can still do the exchange how I wanted to. When this pawn falls, I might just have to kind of evacuate my knight and kind of get out of dodge. I can go here and exchange. So what I'm thinking is, I see now this diagonal is open. I could exchange bishop for rook and then force the queen trade, and then I'll be in a much better spot. So that's where I'm thinking I'm going to go. So basically, what happened with this game is that the black pieces were a little bit underdeveloped when the kings were castled and an opportunity to open up the center arose. and my pieces were just on a little bit better of squares to take advantage of the center opening up. So here I'm up material. My goal is just trade down as much as possible, because that is what's going to be most advantageous for me. So for instance here, maybe I just get my rook behind my pawn and just start pushing it until I'd either force a trade or an exchange, or I force a trade or I get to promote. So here, I think I just kick the knight away. Knight hops there. I'll go there. Knight can go there, there. I don't like that. Let's think. Knight can go there, but I'm really not worried. I think I just keep pushing. Bishop takes, an even exchange, and then even if like rook takes, because I'm up material, I'm not afraid of losing in a pawn or two. That's kind of my thinking. So I have the center pawn. I'm not so certain that I'm going to end up keeping it this game, but it's a center pawn. It is a passed pawn. There's no other pawns that can block it. So rook blocking the pawn is exactly what he should do. Here I can kick the knight away and maybe force the exchange. Here knight can go there. Here knight there. No, knight wouldn't go there. Knight would be kind of trapped. So probably here, knight there is what I'm most likely going to see. So up material, push past pawns, trade down to a winning endgame. That's what I'm thinking. All right, let's make sure I'm not just completely missing something with rook here. Can go bishop there, but then I just take knight there. I can't take it. Yeah. Okay. Do I want to go knight here? Bishop there. Give a check. Maybe there. Let's think. I go knight there. I just, I lose that pawn. Then I capture, and with check, I don't think I want to get into that. Do not think I want to get into that. So, or maybe it's not that bad. I've connected rooks. Go here. Let's say bishop there. I might push. He can give a check. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, that was silly of me. I just gave up that exchange kind of for nothing. That was just a clean blunder on my part. All right, never too late to blunder. Knight e2. Just a simple blunder on my part, and then he wins the pawn. And then, let's see. Yep. Very silly on my part. But that's okay. That is okay. Let's say pawn here, or bishop takes, check. There. Okay, let's take. Okay. Let's go check. Let's say there, I take. There's no back rank because I have this escape square. You can go there, but I'm defending, so I think here. Oh, man. Just a simple blunder on my part, 100%. So thankfully I'm still up, but that was just silly. I should have calculated more. Good on my opponent to catch that. Good on him. We have two passed pawns, so I'm going to look to bring my king to the center in some way and exchange my rook for exchange rooks. It's a 3-on-2 on the king side. Right. Let's think. I just push there and then maybe try to force the exchange. My rook defends this, and I don't need to worry about back ranks. You know, check there. Maybe try swinging there, but then I just go there. So I think I just try to push this pawn. That's what I think. And I try not to blunder again. That's my main goal here. You could go check. I'm there, but then I can bring this pawn. Yep. Good check. And then let me think. I'll go here. Defended. Could give a check there. And then I'll go there. Good. And I'm going to look to get these pawns in a diagonal like that, just because it's a pretty strong pawn structure in a rook endgame. It gives me a check. I just come here, or even I come there and go hide behind this pawn. So here, I give this check. He goes there, and then I take the pawn. I go here, give a check. I'm still protecting the pawn. So I give a little intermezzo check, because the only thing defending this pawn is the king. And then my rook will be doing a little bit of double duty, so I'm not super excited about that. But we'll see how this goes. We will see how this goes. So his rook is doing a good job of keeping an eye on these two pawns. This pawn is now passed. The king is cut off. Okay. So I have to give a check. I don't feel like getting mated today. King can go there. And then let's think. I don't want to just lose my rook. So we go. I think I have to lose that pawn. Good moves by my opponent. Let's go here. Get my king a little bit on a safer square. All right. Opponent is defending well. Opponent's really defending well. Okay. I can just take it. So the rook is really not able to defend this pawn, because those two pawns, because I can exchange one and then get my rook behind it, and the king can come over, but it's going to be a winning endgame for me. I just got to make sure I don't lose on time. That's my big thing right now, is I don't want to lose on time. Okay? King can come over. I have no problem exchanging my rook, exchanging this on the queen side, because I have these two passed pawns, and that's perfectly fine. All right. The other thing, do not want to stalemate. I do not want to stalemate. Okay. Here. Okay. And then I'll bring my king here. If I go here, you go there. Okay. And I go here. Yep. No problem. If I promote, rook takes. And then I promote this pawn. And, I mean, even if you give me a check, that's fine. Okay. Oh, oh wow, that was so silly of me. Oh, man. Good game. I don't know why I thought I had so much less time, but good game. All right, let's do a review because that was a good game by my opponent. All right, good game. I just completely just blanked out at the end there. Good game by my opponent. Great game. Great game. All right, let's see if this is gonna work for me. Let's see if this analysis is going to work. Go here. Okay. All right. So E4, that's my normal opening. D6, D4, D5, Caracan, taking a Caracan exchange, and then C4 makes it the Panov attack. With best play, I believe this is just a draw or not a draw. It's an equal middle game, getting to an equal middle game. So planning to fee and kettle the bishop and knight f6 is all perfectly good moves by my opponent. F3, bishop out, not the best move because you lose the pawn in the center. So let's kind of look at that line. C takes d5, and then... Oh, is it going to work? Maybe not. Let's say knight takes d5, and then d4. Is it going to work? Knight takes, pawn takes, and my center pawns are pretty well supported. Queen can come out, but it's white with the better center, white with more kind of control of the center and better piece development. So bishop g4, not the best move. And then we continue bishop e2. Not the idea, because I'm just not familiar with this idea of taking in the center, so I wasn't even thinking that. I was just thinking defend there, because I have gotten into trouble where where black takes in the center, puts a knight there, and then there's quite a lot of pressure on this pawn, and if they exchange, then that can easily fall. All right, so bishop takes, bad move, because even after you develop and get castled, this pawn is very weak and is being attacked quite a bit. So the bishop hitting the knight in this opening just doesn't have good prospects, because this knight, although is doing a job of supporting d4, when this bishop gets to this diagonal, it's just in a lot better of a square than that knight was ever going to be. E6 is a mistake because castles, bishop g7, and c takes d5, kind of where we were going in the game. So let's kind of go down the actual moves that we played. Bishop takes, e6, castles, bishop g7, pinning. Looks like, I think a waste of a tempo is probably why that's a mistake, because then it gives the opponent time to castle. Looks like just simply taking straight away while I'm castled, the opponent's not. I can open up the center. So it looks like that's why that was a mistake. So let's kind of see what the engine is thinking. And then bishop's looking at this pawn, but nothing else is. This knight can come here, but I think I just have better prospects with kind of attacking this weak king. So Engine wants taking in the center immediately. I played a bit more passive than I should have. All right, so C takes d5, and then this is the kind of tough situation of where the center's on the brink of opening up, and black is just like a tempo or two behind being able to catch up and defend the attack or launch a counterattack. Like here, h6 is a good move, trying to get this bishop maybe off that knight, but it's like a tempo or two behind. So the exchange, and then you can see white is around +3, plus 2.8, because white is much more developed. The center's open. I'm up a couple pawns, so white is ahead in development, up some material, and then therefore has better prospects trading down into a endgame. So here, bishop takes is the best move. I was also looking at, let's see what it thinks of, just taking e takes f7, also fine here, but I think I like bishop b7 better. Okay, queen b6 is a great move. Taking with check, a little intermezzo. Making sure I get the exchange, and then forcing a queen trade. Okay, so at this point, white is winning. My goal is to trade down material. I blunder a rook for a knight, and end up just blundering into a completely winning endgame. But that's my mistake. That's on me. The opponent was doing everything he or she should have done to keep defending and playing well. Knight b4, e5, rook d8. These are all just kind of simple moves to try to get my pieces active and trade down to an winning endgame. All right, so it looks like that wasn't even that bad of a blunder, but definitely not the best move. King f1 is best. So taking was a mistake. Taking was a mistake. It wants knight takes f6. Let's see. Rook can't take because the exchange. Here. And then this is basically the position we had. Maybe I'm missing something. Why is this a mistake? Oh, because bishop can take with this intermezzo and take this pawn. Very, very nice. I just completely forgot we were talking about that in the game. All right, so rook takes c1. Definitely a mistake. Bishop staring right at that pawn. That was a miss on my part. All right, so rook takes. Knight gets rid of that bishop that was staring at that b2 pawn. King takes. All right, here we're in a rook and pawn endgame. As white, I'm up pawns, so it's not a drawn rook and pawn endgame. And the goal is to exchange rooks and push past pawns. Exchange rooks, push past pawns. That's my goal. So here, give this little check, take. Good check by my opponent, because then it forces my king back to a little bit of a passive square. Threatening mate, I have to act. It's he is defending well. It's a forcing move. I have to do something about it. So I lose that pawn that I had. And then that pawn push, just a little bit premature, just because the rook can just simply take it. With these two passed pawns, it's not like this rook could really go anywhere. So that kind of, it just gave away a pawn for maybe at a time he just didn't have to. Okay. Just looking to push pawns. Push pawns, push pawns. Opponent doing exactly what he should to defend well. Looks like I missed mate in 3. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, cutting it off. Okay. All right. Yeah, missed a mate. That's fine. Good. Opponent's defending very well. There's only so much you can do when you have passed pawns. Yep. And then this should be a winning endgame, but of course, never too late to blunder. So I just completely thought I had like a second or two left and was just completely blanked out. So opponent played to the very end, made it a draw. Very good game by my opponent. The lesson here is early development oftentimes allows the side that's more developed and castled to capitalize on opening up the center and taking advantage of tactics and better exchanges or more favorable exchanges. So opponent played really well in the opening, but just because he was a tempo or two behind in development, his king wasn't castled, and the queenside knight was not developed, led to what would have been a pretty normal exchange if the rest of his pieces were developed, turns into a bit of a hindrance as the center opens and my more developed, more active pieces get to kind of have their run of the board while he doesn't have as much defensive resources. So early development, quick castling, and being prepared for opening up the center by having more active pieces. That's the lesson here. Opponent played really well. Also lesson, never too late to blunder. I blundered a rook for a knight and then just blundered into a drawn endgame, but great game by opponent. Very appreciative that he donated his time and energy to playing this game. So thank you very much. And we're going to be looking to play some more games like this in the future. But for right now, that is going to be it. That's the game. That's the review. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much.